Hi, welcome to this video. And in this video, we will be attempting the Edexcel IAL IT Unit 2 past paper of 2021 June. Okay, so I have the paper over here in the background. Okay, this is the paper that we will be attempting. Okay, so before we do get started, okay, it is important to ensure that you have the following data files with you. So let me quickly show you the data files that I have with me. Okay, so this is the question paper, obviously. And over here, these are the data files that you need to have. Okay, certain data files have been provided in folders. Okay, for example, if you look at question 5, inside the question 5 folder, you have multiple files. Okay, inside question 4, you have multiple files. Okay, and inside question 2C as well, you have multiple files. So in order to attempt this paper, you must have the following data files with you. Okay, right. Hopefully you do have them with you. So I'm going to move forward and get started with this paper. Right. So over here, moving down to our very first question. So we are now in section A and we are advised to spend about 60 minutes on this section. Okay. Right. So answer all questions. Right. Let's get started. HTML is used to structure web pages. State what is meant by an HTML element. So an HTML element is a very tiny part of your web page. Okay. Your web page is made up of multiple elements. And each of these elements start with a tag. Is it clear? So when I say tag, immediately in your head, you should understand, okay, when we speak about tags, we have learned of head tag, body tag, HTML tag, paragraph tag, H1 tag, H2 tag, table tags. So depending on the content that you want to insert into your web page, you will choose an appropriate tag. Okay. So, and you will understand that every tag plays a small part in your web page. Okay. So for example, the table tag is only responsible for creating a table. A paragraph tag is only responsible for creating a paragraph for you. An H1 tag is responsible only for giving you the main heading. Is it clear? So elements, when you put all these elements together, when you put multiple elements together, that's when you have a complete web page. Okay, so an element is simply a small part of your web page. It will start with a tag, but not all elements have a closing tag. Okay, we have two types of tags. Some are what we call container tag, where there is an opening, there is a closing. Think about the paragraph tag, for example. You open the paragraph tag, you type your content, you close it. But if you think about the break tag, for example, the BR tag, it doesn't have a closing. It only has an opening, which is why we call it an empty tag. Anyway, so I've given a bit long explanation for y'all, but let's just note it down over here. You can say it is a small part of a web page. Okay, and you can say it is defined using an opening tag. Okay, some elements have an opening and closing tag. Okay, so it is a very small part of a web page. Okay, it is defined using an opening tag. Some elements have an opening and closing tag. Okay, then the next one is, guys, it speaks about state what is meant by an HTML attribute. So an attribute allows you to add properties to your elements, add properties to your tags. So for example, if you take the image tag, you can add attributes like width, height, src, your source, then alt, alternate text. So these are properties of that particular tag. Okay, so you can say these are properties of a tag. Okay, so these are what we call attributes. Like I gave you an example. If you think about the image tag, the attributes you can put inside an image tag are src, which is source, width, height, alternate, alt. Okay, right. Then, guys, if you move on to the next one, question 1b, it says figure 1 shows some HTML code. Explain the purpose of the HTML code on line 3. So if you look at line 3, you can see over here we have opened an anchor tag. href is the destination of this tag. Is it clear? Meaning, there is, you can see once the anchor tag is open, everything that appears inside the anchor tag will become a hyperlink, meaning that the user can click on it and it will take the user to a different destination. So you can see inside this anchor tag, you can see it's opened over here and it's being closed over here now. So in between, you can see an image has been opened. Okay, and this image is called bookingbutton.jpg. So when the user clicks on this image, href will define the destination of where the user is going to be redirected to. So when the user clicks on this image, on the web page, he will be taken to booking.html. Okay, so I hope you do understand. Let's put it in words over here. You can say the anchor tag has been used. Okay, the anchor tag has been used with an image inside it, with an image inside it. When the user clicks on the image by the name, or clicks on the image by the name or located, because the name of the image is booking button.jpg. So let's say that when the user clicks on the image by the name of booking button.jpg, the user will be directed to booking.html. Okay, so I hope it makes sense to you what happens over here. We have an anchor tag. Inside this, an anchor tag is used to create a hyperlink. So inside this anchor tag, we have placed an image. And over here, SRC defines the name of the image or the location of the image. Okay, that has been defined. And over here in href, we have defined where the user should be sent when he clicks on the image. Okay, right. This is the address of the hyperlink or destination of the hyperlink. Okay, right. Let's move on to the next one. Over here, it says Figure 2 shows how a list of facts about bees should be displayed in a browser. The HTML code should show a number for each fact. Display each fact on a new line. Okay, so it should be something like this. The page does not display as intended because there are two errors in the HTML code. So open the file Q01C in a browser to identify the errors. So let's open this in a browser. I'm going to use Google Chrome and identify where the problems are. So let me go into my folder. My folder is over here, Q01C. When I double click and open it up, this is what I see on the screen. So I'm going to zoom in, control and zoom in plus. Okay, so you can see it's not numbered, it's using a unordered list, isn't it? Now for numbers we need ordered lists. This is an unordered list. Okay, so let's open it up in my code, my text editor as well. Okay, so open the file in your editor, amend the code to correct the two errors. Okay, so I'm going to go into my folder and I'll be using something called Sublime Text as my text editor. So I will use Sublime Text. Okay, let's open this up. Let's bring this to a side. Let's do a drag and drop. Okay, there you go. And I'm also going to zoom into this so that you can see the code. Right, you can see over here, problem number 1 is they have used an unordered list. Okay, you need to use an ordered list, OL. Problem, so OL has been opened and they have closed OL. That is done. Then list item, okay, perfect. Again, list. So you can see list item is open and list item is closed. List item is open, list item is closed. Over here, list item has been closed, but it hasn't been opened. So let's come and open it over here, LI. Okay, so now list item has been opened and list item has been closed. Okay, right. Over here also no problem. So far I have corrected 2 errors. So I think this should do the job. So I'm going to save it. Okay, how do we save it as? Let me quickly see. I'm supposed to save it as Q01C finish.html. So let me quickly do that. File save as. So let me go into my folder Q01C finish.html. Okay, and let's click on save. Now that is done. Now let me come into my web browser. Now my web browser is displaying the old file. It's displaying Q01C. I need to open Q01C.finish. Finished. So let me go into my folder, and here we have the finished file. Let's open that, and you can see, yes, it's displaying it quite fine. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, let me compare it with the question paper as well. 1, 2, 3, 4. So there doesn't seem to be a problem. Okay, so we are done with question C as well. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you. Let me quickly show you the coding. I have opened the ordered list, okay, and for every item in this list, we have said list item, list item, list item. Okay, so list item open, list item close, and then sentence is done. Okay, right. Okay, then let's minimize this and let's move on to the next question, question number D. So explain the purpose of the data attribute. Okay, so over here we have an attribute called data, and using the data attribute, what we are allowed to do is we are allowed to store some data, some custom, what do you call custom made data about a particular element in your web page. Now you're familiar with elements. Now you know that an element is a tag. Okay, so for a tag, if you want to store some data about that tag, which you can later call using JavaScript. Okay, so this data attribute actually works only with JavaScript. It is a part of HTML tags, but in order to call the data that is stored inside the data attribute, you will have to use JavaScript. Okay. So what you can basically do is you can store some data about a particular tag. It can be an image, it can be whatever it is, whatever tag, you can store some data inside it. And whenever needed, you can call that data, but you will have to use JavaScript in order to call that data. Okay, so this data attribute allows you to store some custom data about a particular tag, about a particular element. Okay, let's note it down over here. You can say this attribute allows the user to store custom data about custom data for a particular tag or element. Okay, and this data can be called using JavaScript. Okay, so if you're still not very satisfied with my explanation over here, I would recommend using W3 Schools. Okay, let me just quickly show it to you. Come over here and do a quick Google search. You can say data attribute HTML over there. Okay, come over here, do visit this web page. Okay, and over here it explains to you how it is used, why it is used, and it has also given you an example of how it can be used. Okay, so do try check this out as well. Okay, it gives you an explanation of how it has been used as well. Okay, so I hope, please do check it out. Okay, please do check it out. Okay, right, moving on then. So we have come to the end of question number 1 now. Let's move on to question number 2 over here. Right, so over here it says CSS is used by browsers to style HTML elements. CSS selectors indicate which HTML elements are being styled. Okay, two of the most common CSS selectors are the class and ID selector. Explain the difference between the class and ID selector. So the first difference, let me put this over here. The first difference we can talk about is the fact that when we are referring to a class selector, we put a dot and then we mention the name of the class. When we are referring to an ID selector, we put a hashtag and then mention the name of the ID. Okay, so let's first talk about that. Now, they have asked only for one, but I'm going to give you guys two. The first thing we can talk about, you can say, when referring to a class selector, a full stop is used before the class name, while when referring to an ID selector, the hashtag is used before the ID name. Okay, this is one difference. Another difference is you need to understand that ID names are unique. Okay, you can only have one element with one ID name. Is it clear? Okay, ID names are unique, but class names, you can use the class name for multiple elements. So when you call that class, it will apply to all the elements that have the class in its attributes. Is it clear? So we can even talk about that. You can say an ID, you can say an ID is unique, meaning it can only refer to one element. Okay, while a class, okay, a class can, we can say a class selector can refer to multiple elements in a web page. Okay, so I hope you're okay. There are more differences. I have just mentioned only two over here. Okay, so an ID, when you mention an ID, guys, you will be referring only to one particular element with that particular ID. But when you say class, guys, you can refer to multiple elements that have that particular class in its attribute. Okay, so you can say, for example, let's say the class name is test, and you want to use this class in multiple elements. Okay, so you can use it in H1, you can use it in H2, you can use it in paragraph. Okay, so in your CSS file, when you refer to the class, you just have to mention the element name. Okay, you can say, for example, h1.class, okay, or p.class, and then you can put your styling for it. Or if you want all the elements to be affected, you can just simply say dot test and then put your properties for it. Okay? Good. I hope that makes sense to you. Okay, once again, if it is not, please do check out W3 Schools. Okay, class selector versus ID selector. You'll find a good explanation over there for you. Okay. Right, moving on. Figure 3 includes the code for a navigation button. Okay, so you can see over here the styling coding has been given to you. Okay, so you can see navigation element, and here we're talking about the anchor tag. Okay, so over here, okay, let's go to the question. Let's go down to the question. It says line 7 to 15 in figure 3 shows CSS styling for the navigation button on line 24. Okay, describe the effect that the CSS code on line 17 to 19 has on the button. 17 to 19. So you can see here it's referring to the navigation element, and then it's referring to the anchor tag, and on hover. Okay, on hover means when the user places the cursor on top of this anchor, on top of this hyperlink. Okay, that's what we call hover, when the user keeps the cursor on top of it. So when the user keeps the cursor on top of it, what happens? The background color should become dark gray and the font color should become white. Okay, I hope it makes sense to you over here. So let's explain this. Let's describe the effect. You can say, when the mouse is hovered over the home text in the navigation area, in the nav area, okay, the background color would change to what color? Would change to dark gray, and the font color would change to white color. Okay, and the font color would change to white. You can just say white color again. Okay, so we have explained what would happen over there. Right, moving on to the next one. It says over here, a web page contains an image of a bee. The image should have a black border and be displayed as a circle. Open the file q20c.html in your editor. Okay, so let's do that. And then we have to amend the CSS code to implement a black border and a circle effect. Okay, so let's first open this up. Let's first see how it looks in the web browser. Q02C, which is over here. Let's open it up. The image B is right over here. So right now, when I open it, we can see it's a B, but it's a square-shaped image, and there is no border that has been applied yet. Okay, so let's also open this up in Sublime Text. Okay, so I have Sublime Text over here, and I'm going to do a drag and drop all the way over here. And before I make any changes, I'm going to keep the original file as it is, and I'm going to save this as q02c finish.html, just like how the question paper has instructed. Okay, so I'm not going to touch the original file. File save as q02c finish.html. Okay, so I already have made a copy of this, and it's important that I open the new file in my web browser. Okay, and now it's time for me to make changes where I need to add a border. Okay, so I need to add a border to my image, and I also need to make it in a circle shape. Okay, so right now you can see over here we have the image. Here we have the HTML coding. The image has been inserted. Over here, the image tag has been referred to in the style tag. We need to add a border for it. So we can simply say border, and we can say 1px solid black. Okay, I want it to have a solid black border. Okay, has the question paper given us a color? Black border. They've just said black border. Okay, and now let's come and refresh our. You can see now there is a black border. Okay, if it's not properly visible to you, maybe you can make it 2 pixel. Okay, so it'll be slightly more thicker. Okay, you can see. Now the next is I need it to be round in shape. Okay, so what we can do is we can use something called border radius. What does a border radius do? A border radius will bend the corners. Okay, it will curve the corners. So if you can curve it enough, okay, it will become a circle shape. Okay, the 4 corners can be curved using a property called border radius. Okay, so let's come over here. Let's type border radius. Okay, and let's put 50% for now. I do not know how much we will need. Now let's come and refresh it. So 50% is perfect apparently. 50% is perfect. Okay, just let me show you with different values. 70%. Let's see how it looks. 70% it wouldn't look so. I didn't save it. Saved it. Now let's come and refresh it. Okay, so not much of a difference between 50 and 70. Okay, Control S. Okay, so not much of a difference. So let's keep it at 50% itself. Okay, and now when we come and refresh, so it looks perfect. Okay, it looks like a proper circle over here. Okay, so we need to use something called border radius, which will curve the 4 corners. Right. So this is also done. I'm going to save this. Anyway, it's already saved under the correct name. Okay. And let's move on to the next question thereafter. Okay. So over here it says a web page contains an HTML table that needs to be formatted using CSS. The table should take up the full width of the page, full width of the page, full width of the page, which means the width should be equal to 100%. Okay. All text should be centered. The table header should use the font size 20 pixels. The table footer should have a red background. So open file Q02D in your editor. Let's open up Q02D, which is over here. Q02D, we have opened it over here, right? We have it, but you can see there are no borders. Okay, there's no, okay, none of that has been done. I'm zooming in a little bit. Right, let's keep reading. It says over here, amend the code to complete the formatting of the table. Save your amended code as Q02D finish.html. So I'll first save it. Okay. Now itself, I'm going to save this table, save it as, I didn't open it in Sublime Text. So let me open this in Sublime Text. Let's do a small drag, drop. And now what was I going to do here? I'm going to save this. Okay. So that I do not touch the original files. Okay. This is a good practice. You never know when you will need the original files again. Okay. Finished.html. Save it. Okay. Now let me also go and open the new file in Google Chrome. Let's zoom into this. Right. Now change number one is I need the table to fit the entire web page, which means table width should be equal to 100%. Okay. So I'm going to remove this now. And over here inside my style tag, I'm going to refer to the table tag. And I'm going to give the first property, which is width should be equal to 100%. Okay, that is done. So now when I come and refresh my web page, you can see now my table is fitting my entire web page. Right. The next change that needs to happen is all text should be centered. So let's do that. Once again, I'm going to say text align. I want it to be centered. That is also done. So let's come and refresh this. That is also done. This is also center aligned. Next, what do I need? The table should use the font size 20 pixel. The table header. Okay. Okay. Only the table header should have a font size of 20 pixel. So you can see over here, these are the table headings. So I'm only going to refer to this particular tag. Is it clear? So I'm going to come over here. I'm going to open a new tag, TH. I'm referring to the TH tag, table header. And over here, font size should be 20 pixel. So save it, come and refresh this. Okay, this has now, okay, you can see the table headings. The first row is all 20 pixels. The next thing is the table footer should have a red background. So the table footer is the last row. Okay, the table footer over here, you can see this particular area. Okay, table footer, sorry, my bad. The table footer. Okay, so I'm going to refer to this particular area. I'm going to say T foot. Is that the correct spelling? T foot. Okay. And I'm going to say background should be, what was the color? Red. Should be red. Okay. Right. So that's done. Let's come and refresh and see how it looks. Okay. So you can see the last row, the table footer, which is the last row, is having a background of red color. Okay. So I think we have done everything. Okay. You can now save your work. It's anyway saved. Okay. And with this, you have come to the end of question number 2 as well. Okay. I hope it makes sense to you. Okay. And let's move on to question number 3, where we will be dealing with JavaScript over here. So over here, it says JavaScript provides interactivity for web pages. JavaScript and HTML code is needed to open a web page called success.html in a new browser window. The JavaScript code must be triggered by a mouse click. Okay, so when the mouse is clicked, it should open up success.html in a new browser window and open a web page called success.html in a new window. Okay, so we need to write the coding for this. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a hyperlink, and when the user clicks on this hyperlink, what's going to happen? This web page is going to open up in a new browser window. So let's do that over here. Let's type our JavaScript code over here. So I'm going to first use HTML to create a hyperlink, a HRE anchor tag. And href is right now not going to be equal to anything, okay, because I'm going to use JavaScript in order to open up success.html. Okay, so I'm just going to say hashtag over here, which means, I don't want this to take the user anywhere. And then I'm going to have an event. Okay, I'm going to have an event called onClick. Okay, and the event handler, okay, is going to be called. So we have a built-in function in JavaScript called window.open. Okay, window.open is a built-in JavaScript function, okay, which means to open up a URL in a new window. Okay, so what is the address? The address that I want it to go to is success.html. Okay, this is the address that I want the window to take the user to. Okay, I want a new window to open up, and this is the URL that I want to load. Okay, now what is the text that I'm going to display? The text I'm going to display is, for example, I can say click here, click here. Okay, I can just say click here, and then I can close my anchor tag over here. So the user would see click here, and when the user clicks on click here, the event onClick would be triggered, and then window open function would take place, and it would open up success.html. Okay, extremely simple. Okay, they're giving only 2 marks for it. Okay, so I hope it does make sense to you. Okay, right. Moving on to the next question over here. Okay, so it says over here, open the file q03b.html in your editor. The JavaScript code contains an incomplete array and function. When the button is clicked, the user should be able to see the unsorted array values, and he should also be able to see the array values sorted alphabetically. So amend the HTML code in the JavaScript code to complete the array and function. Save your amended code. So I'm going to do this part first. I'm first going to save the file as q03b finished, and then I'm going to make changes. Okay. So let's go over here. Let's open up q03b, not in the web browser, in my Sublime Text. So I have Sublime Text over here. Let's do a drag and drop over here. There you go. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as q03b finish.html. And now I'm going to open this particular file in my web browser. So apparently when I click on show array, it should first show me my array unsorted, and then it should also show me my array sorted in alphabetical order. So let's come into our HTML code over here. So over here we have our HTML coding. Okay, nothing to be done over here. You can see there's a button, and when the button is clicked, sort array function is going to be called, and sort array function has been defined over here. We'll come back to it. And then over here, guys, you can see there's a paragraph. There are 2 paragraphs. One paragraph is for showing the sorted data, and there's another paragraph for showing the unsorted data, but it doesn't have an ID yet, so you will have to give it an ID. Okay, so let's go in order. So you can see there's a variable called honey ARR. Okay, so initialize the array with these values in this order. Okay, so I need to put these values in this order inside the array honey array. Okay, so remember we are creating a variable. Oh, sorry, we are creating an array. So we are creating an array. So you have to open square brackets and put the values inside. So I can simply put double quotes, avocado, then comma. I can copy and paste. That will be a lot faster. Control C, Control V, then comma. Open double quotes. Control C, Control V, comma, double quotes, Control C, Control V, comma, double quotes, Control C, Control V. Okay, so I have now created the array. Okay, the array is there, and the name of this array is honey R. Okay, and now you can see the moments. Now, when I click on this button, sort array function is called now. So over here, sort array is being defined on what it does. So when it is called document.getElement by ID, it's referring to the ID unsorted. Okay, it's referring to the ID unsorted dot in HTML. The text inside this ID is going to be, this is the unsorted array, and then the array values are going to be shown. Okay, so avocado, clover, apple, sage, blueberry, those values are going to be shown. Now get element by ID is referring to unsorted. Okay, but over here in HTML we do not have any element that has the ID unsorted. So which means unsorted needs to appear here. This paragraph doesn't have a name, doesn't have an ID, no. So for this paragraph, I'm going to give it the ID unsorted. Okay, so this paragraph is having the ID unsorted. Okay, so now what's going to happen is the moment sort array is called, get element by ID, it's going to refer to unsorted. It's inside value. Okay, the text that it's going to display is this is the unsorted array, and then the honey array is going to be called. Now add code to sort the array. Now this array, I'm going to sort it now. Okay, so I'm going to create a new variable. I'm going to say honey array. Well, let's create a new variable sorted array. We'll say sorted array value is equal to take honey array, take this honey array, take this variable, take this array dot sort. Okay, I'm using the function dot sort. Okay, which means sort this array. Now I need to display it. I need to display it inside this particular paragraph. So I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to first refer to this paragraph using document.getElementById. by ID. Okay, I'm going to refer to this paragraph using document.getElementById, by ID, and the ID of this paragraph is sort. So I'm going to say sort, and the text inside it's going to be .inner HTML. .inner HTML is going to be equal to what? This is the sorted array. Okay, I'm going to keep a colon. Okay, keep a space, and then I'm going to concatenate it with the sorted array. What's the name of the sorted array? Called sorted array. Control V. Okay, right. Now let's see how this works. Okay, let's come into Sublime, come into our web browser. Let's refresh this. Is this the finished? This is not the finished one. The finished one is over here. Okay, so now when I zoom in, show array, you can see here you go. This is the unsorted array, and this is the sorted. Okay, I do hope it makes sense to you. If it doesn't, practice it at least thrice, at least 3 times. Practice it and try to explain the code to yourself. The first time it's going to be quite hard. Second time it will be a little better. Third time a little more better. It will require at least 3 practices before it starts making some sense to you. But you have to go through that phase, okay, of practicing at least thrice. Okay, so practice it thrice and then explain the output and the code. How do they work? Explain it to yourself. Okay, and then slowly but surely it will start making sense to you. Okay, right. So with that, we have come to the end of this particular question as well, and now we move on to question C. Okay, 3C. So once again, open question q03c.html in editor. Okay, so let me do that, and I'm immediately going to save it as q03c finished. Okay, that's what I'm going to do immediately. So I'm going to go into my folder, open up 3C in Sublime Text. Can I say open with? It doesn't appear. So let me get Sublime Text over here. Let's do a drag and drop. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to save this as q03c finished.html. Okay, save. Right, that is done. Now what's supposed to happen? Let's open that in my web browser. Okay, right. So now what happens over here is, according to the question paper, the JavaScript code displays a start button. When the user clicks the button, a prompt box appears requesting the input of a name. After the input, the name is hidden by replacing each character with an asterisk. The hidden name is then displayed. So for example, if Mobin is input, it should display that name as 5 asterisks. Okay, every letter should be represented using an asterisk. Okay, so amend the code so that it replaces each character in the name with an asterisk. Display a message containing the hidden name. So let's go into Sublime Text. So the first thing that we need to do is, you can see over here, this is our this is our HTML part. Okay, we have the heading, hiding names, and then there's a button. So when the user clicks on this button, the event convert name will be triggered. Okay, convert name will be triggered. Now in JavaScript, we have defined how convert name is going to work. So when convert name is called, the first thing that happens is a prompt. A prompt means, okay, let me quickly show you how that prompt works. So when I click on start, can you see? Oh, the prompt is not working at the moment. We'll see why it's not working. So a prompt is where somewhere over here at the top, a box will appear asking for the user to enter his name. For some reason that's not working. Let me, okay, I'm clicking on the wrong page. Okay, so let me open q03c finished. Okay, that's the correct page. Okay, now let's come back into our Sublime text code. Right. So function convert name. Okay. Prompt user for the name to be hidden. Okay. So enter the name to be hidden. Now variable hidden name is right now equal to nothing. Okay. So let's quickly go through this one by one now. So enter the name to be hidden. Right now, variable hidden name is equal to nothing. And here we have a for loop. So using the for loop, I'm going to go through every character that the user enters. So this prompt box, every character that the user enters, I'm going to go through every character and convert that character into an asterisk using the for loop. Okay, so what I'm going to do is right now I have a variable called count, and variable count is right now equal to 1. Then I'm going to say as long as the count is less than the input name's length. Okay, in whatever value the user puts will be equal to input now. Okay, so I want this count. Okay, I want it to keep increasing from 1. It should become 2. 2 should become 3. It should keep increasing, but it should not go more than the length of input name. Okay, so as long as count is less than input name dot length. Okay, as long as the count is less than input name's length, and I want count to increase by 1 each time, which means, so I'm putting double plus. Okay, double plus means after each iteration, increase count by 1. Okay, right now it is 1. Okay, then it will become 2, it will become 3, right? Now, what I want to do is, right now, count is equal to 1 now. Okay, so right now, count is equal to 1. Then what is it going to do? The variable hidden name is right now equal to nothing. You can see right now it's blank. So what I'm going to do is, hidden name, variable hidden name is going to be equal to whatever it is already equal to, plus I want an asterisk to appear there. Asterisk to appear over there. Okay, as I put it in double quotes, I want an asterisk to appear over there. Okay, so let's go through this in order. Let's say, for example, I enter the name John below. I enter the name John over here. So count is right now equal to 1. Is one smaller than the input name's length? Answer is yes. Okay. So then what will it do? It will come down. Right now hidden name is equal to nothing. So nothing plus asterisk. So now an asterisk will be placed over there. Right now hidden name will be equal to an asterisk. It will go up again. This is a for loop. No, loop means it will keep repeating. Now count will increase by 1. Now count will become 2. 2 is smaller than the input's length because input length is 4. Now John has 4 characters, right? So now 2. Now count is equal to 2. 2 is smaller than the input name's length. So now what happens is, remember, hidden name was equal to 1 asterisk. Now it will be 1 asterisk plus another asterisk. Now it becomes 2 asterisk. Now hidden name is equal to 2 asterisk. It will go up again. Now count becomes 3. Is 3 smaller than the input length? Answer is yes. So now remember, hidden name was having 2 asterisks. Now it will become 3 asterisks. Is it clear? It will go up again. Now count is equal to 4. Okay, count is now equal to 4. Is 4 less than the input name's length? Okay, input name length was 4. John has 4 characters now. Input name length was equal to 4. Okay, input name, sorry, count, sorry, making messed up. Input name's length is 4. Right now count is equal to 3. So 3 is smaller than 4. Okay, 3 is smaller than 4. Okay, so it will move down to the next step. So hidden name had 3 asterisks. Now it's going to become 4 asterisks. Now count is going to become 4. 4 is not less than the input name's length, because input name's length is 4. Count is also 4. It is not less. So answer is no. It's going to stop, and then it's going to jump all the way down over here. So once this for loop finishes, what do I want it to do? What do I want it to do? Once the for loop finishes, sorry, over here, once the for loop finishes, I want it to print these asterisks as an alert. So I'm going to say alert. Okay, I want it to print it over here now. Somewhere over here, I want it to print as an alert. So I'm going to say alert, and then I'm going to put a message saying secret name is, keep a space, colon, and then call the variable hidden name. Okay, so let's see how this works. So let's come and refresh my web page. Let's put start over here. So enter the name to be hidden. I'm going to type my name. So my name has 5 characters. So there should be 5 asterisks. So when I say OK, when I zoom in, there's only 4 or 5 appearing here. There is only 4 appearing over here. Okay, I see there's a problem here. No, I get it. Okay, so guys, we should not start with a blank space. Let's not start with nothing. Let's have variable hidden name already equal to 1 asterisk. Let's have variable name already equal to 1 asterisk. Okay. Now let's see how this works. Okay. So now let's refresh. Let's click on start. Let's put my name over here. So now when I put, you can see I have got exactly 5 asterisks. Okay. My name had 5 asterisks over here. 5 asterisks are there. Okay. So this is working quite fine. I hope it makes sense. Once again, I'm repeating, guys, if this was really complicated for you, you have to practice this at least 3 more times. And when you practice 3 times, it doesn't mean you're going to be, what do you call it? You're going to fully understand it. No, you might get a glimpse. You might have somewhat of an understanding after 3 practices. Okay, but it's better to have somewhat of an understanding rather than you not have understood it at all. Okay, and this somewhat of an understanding will help you in the next few questions. Okay, your understanding is only going to get better and better if you can practice these each at least 3 times, at least. Okay, so explain the code to yourself. Okay, explain how each output is appearing in your web page. It's very important that you do this. Okay, otherwise this is not going to make any sense to you. Okay, please do at least thrice. Okay, right. So then let's move on. So with that, we have come to the end of question 3. Okay, I have saved my work and all that. Okay, so then we move on to question number D over here. Okay, so over here it says figure 4 shows some code containing a blur event. Describe how the code works. So you can see over here we have our JavaScript code over here, and we have a function, and the function name is validate, and then we have a parameter by the variable name item to validate. Okay, we have a parameter called item to validate. If item to validate's values length is less than 1, item to validate's values length is less than 1, then we display what? You must enter your first name. Okay. Then here we have a paragraph. In this paragraph, we are telling the user enter your first name. Then we have an input box. Okay. This input box has an event on blur. On blur means the user takes the cursor away. When the user takes the cursor away, automatically validate function is being called. Validate function is being called, and the the argument that is being passed is whatever value the user entered inside this input box. Can you see? We're referring to the ID. First name ID is what we are referring to. So whatever value the user typed inside this text box is being passed inside the validate function. So you see, validate function is being called, and first name. So when validate function is being called, here we have defined how it works. So item to validate is defined by whatever the user types inside this input box. Can you see here? I've said first name. The ID of this input box is also first name. So whatever the user types inside this input box will be passed over here. So if the length of what the user has typed is less than 1, automatically it's going to say you must enter your first name. So shall we explain that over here? Okay, you can say in the input box defined on line 16, the user must enter a value. Okay, and upon taking the cursor away from this input box, will trigger the event on blur, and the event handler validate would be called. Okay, then you can say the event handler validate is defined in lines 8 to 10, where if the user enters a value of less than 1 character in the input box of line 16, okay, the alert you must enter your first name would be displayed on the web browser. Okay, so I hope it makes sense to you. Okay, please do try and explain this code to yourself again. Okay, explain where the function is, how is the function being called. It's being called using an event. Okay, then we are checking if this input box values length is less than 1. If it is less than 1, then we display this alert. You must enter your first name. Okay. Okay, so with that, we have come to the end of question number 3. Okay, and thereafter we will be moving on to question number 4. Okay, so question number 4 is to do with section B. Okay, it's a big question. Okay, so in the next video, we will move on to this particular question. Okay, so I hope things are going well. Again and again, I'm reminding you, please do practice these questions at least 3 times. Okay, okay, then only it will start being beneficial to you. Okay, right. See you guys in the next video.